Start your 45 minutes.
Hey, bud. Fancy meeting you here. Hey? How you doing, Hoss? That snow must be picking up because he was dry when he come in and he was dry when he left. He ain't dry no more. Must be blowing in from the side, eh, bud? I know, don't worry about the antenna. You'll figure that out here in a minute. Just going to get some of this water off of them. I always kind of recap because I know everyone don't get to watch all of my sessions is kind of what people's been telling me. So I'll just let you know, for those of you that weren't here, where I ended up this morning with this colt is I got to put the first ride on him, which I've really been itchy to do. I was excited to finally get to ride him and feel what he's like moving around the pen, and he was great. But stepping on him, I had some issues there to where he was worried about me being up on his side. And for those of you that have seen all my sessions, he was worried about the flag being on his side. He was worried about the pad being on his side. So it's just one more thing that I got to get him over, and I know that kind of hot spot's in there a little bit with him, and I bet you when I go to drag the log on the side, he's probably going to be a little bit nervy too. But my favorite thing about him, or why those of you have asked me about him, I've been so high on this horse, is that when he was nervous, he kind of wanted to leave me there a little bit, and the moment I pulled on him, he stopped. So even when he gets nervous, or even if he gets a little bit scared or anything like that, gets a little bit tense, he still lets me talk to him. And it's not fair for me to ask a colt to not be nervous or not find resistance or tension in one. The only fair thing I can ask him to do is to let me talk him out of it. So that's why I've kind of, everyone said, you know, you really like your horse. I do, and just for those reasons. I feel like the mistakes that he made are good mistakes to make. Hey, little bud. Now, I'm going to introduce my horse with the dressage whip here this time. And just to kind of cover why is, I've been using the taps of the halter since the beginning. I'm going to use the same pattern with my dressage whip, but when I ride, a young horse, if you're kicking on them all the time or spurring on them all the time and they don't understand how to get off that, sometimes what they'll do is they get to where they push out with their belly and it's hard to get forward. So if I can use the dressage whip here to back up my legs, sometimes it just helps me accomplish forward in a less pressure situation. So before I ride them, I'm going to introduce them to that dressage whip so I don't get on them and just surprise them. And I'll just start by pushing them around here to the left, same way I've been pushing them around, want them to follow feel, handle pressure. And I just start my taps the same way. Lift it towards them, start at a 1, then a 2. There, he's super soft and pretty. And the idea about a whip, you know, some people say, well, my horse is terrified of the whip. A horse that's scared of the whip is a horse that doesn't understand why you're using the whip or how you're going to use the whip or the pattern. Because if I'm holding the whip, that don't mean I'm just going to whip him. If I show him the whip and he moves, I won't ever whip him. But there he refused me, so I just slowly built and I gave him lots of time to figure it out. And that's showing him that, hey, if you don't want that to come to you, or if you know the whip is something that you don't appreciate, then just go ahead and move off that pressure at a 1. So I'm going to keep working with this till I can get him to move off this whip real soft. Just like that. Thank you.
It all comes down to your intention and him reading your intention with a whip, doesn't it?
It does, and then I always tell everybody if you show up to my place and you see me using a whip on your horse, and it's the very first day, my intention is not using that whip for the rest of his life. If you showed up on Monday and I'm using the whip, and on Friday I'm using just as much whip as I was before, I haven't done my job correctly. My job is to teach him how to move away from pressure, not teach him to rely on a whip or a training aid for the rest of his life. It's to teach him how to handle pressure in the easiest way for him and to teach him to move off legs in the easiest form possible. And then you'll see how the whip kind of got him a little bit angry. So then what I'm going to do is just test him with it because I don't want him to be so angry about that touch. So after I tap him with it, I got to show him the difference between taps and just him being touched with things, because he can't just be angry all the time. He's got to understand the difference between pressure on and pressure off. And a lot of that is through my body language. You know, sometimes I'm asking him to move and I want to make sure he can read the play on that. And sometimes I'm just going to hang my rope on the saddle. It don't mean blow up and run off. So he's got to have both. Hard thing is when I'll get to a clinic and I'll tell a lady, you know, here, try a dressage whip and it'll help you get your horse off your legs, and I'll explain how to do it. But it's weird about how human tendency goes is If somebody's holding the whip, they want to whip something. It's just, it's our nature. I got a whip, you're there, you're getting whipped. But we always have something that we start with, and then we slowly build with the whip and then kind of go along. And I resorted to, I worked on a movie in Burnaby Park one time, and we were Witch's Henchmen for the Tin Man movie, and we were special abilities extras, so they dressed us up in these cool outfits and gave us shields and swords, and we didn't even know where we were going, and 5 kids and 2 grown men were in an all-out sword fight in 5 seconds. They hadn't even explained what was going on, but I was holding the sword, so I wanted to hit him, and he was holding the sword, so he wanted to hit me. But I want to use that whip today so that I don't have to use that whip tomorrow. That's my goal, or my end-all be-all. This is really great. First time I chucked the pad at him, he'd try to get his head between me and the pad, and he really wasn't wanting me to get over there to him. So to see him getting better and better every time I saddle him shows that whatever read I've put on why he was nervous is coming in true there a little bit, because he's getting better. He's not getting more and more frustrated by the saddle. If I notice him getting more and more frustrated, I know that maybe I've got a little bit of misread, and I need to go back and be like, okay, what did I miss, buddy? Is there something here that I haven't shown you, or something you're not confident with? There you go. Make sure I don't just back you right on that tarp. We're just in the meet and greet telling stories, so I got a good story I'll tell here while I'm saddling my horse up. Is that if you guys have watched me very many times, some people say, I've seen you do a bunch of them. I usually don't put the tarp in here this early. I got a lot of trust for this colt, so I felt good, but I was at a trainer challenge in Manitoba, and a friend of mine, Mel Highland, was in it too, and if you guys know Mel, you'll get the story maybe a little bit better, but he's just a fiery little bronc rider. He's a great horse trainer, and I had the tarp in the middle, and I got on for my first ride kind of away from the tarp, and I just assumed that horse isn't going to go anywhere near that tarp if something bad happens, so I don't need to worry about it. And I got on, rode around, she was really good, and then something happened in the crowd, and she jumped and spooked and landed right in the middle of that tarp. And then she didn't know how to get off of it, so she started bucking, but when she was bucking in a circle. And she just kept getting that tarp closer and closer to her belly and kept jumping higher and higher, and everybody's holding their breath, like didn't know what to say, and all I can hear out of the crowd is Mel Highland going, "Stick him, Cade!" So I did. It was just kind of a little encouragement I needed from a friend there to get a guy through it. Everybody else was worried about me, he wasn't. You're all right, he says. Man, I was scared though, and then the poor horse, he couldn't get off the tarp. But it took me probably a whole half a session to get that horse to where he'd even look at that tarp again. Poor thing.
Good old Mel. He was a judge for the first several trainers' challenges here, and he competed in one and did very, very well.
That's how I met him, is he judged the very first one I ever did here in Red Deer. And we got to talking after that, and I appreciated the way he was. He's a very open book. If Mel doesn't like you, you don't walk around saying, I don't know if Mel likes me. You know.
You know, right?
He'll tell you, yeah, you bet. There's no wondering with him.
He's a legend in Canadian rodeo, for sure.
I saw a video on Facebook that I seen a few years ago. It come up on my memories. I'd shared it. And it was a video of him at Cheyenne. Oh my goodness, that was a bronc ride. And I mean, he
was about 20 or 19 or 20 or 21 years old on that.
Looked like he was 12. Like just a tiny little kid with glasses. And I mean, he comes out and this horse comes, blows right up, jumping 10 feet in the air, and Mel never leaves the saddle and just spurred him every jump. It was such a cool bronc ride. All right, little guy, look at you all buttoned up. Okay, I'll just send him around and make sure we have no discomfort. I've talked to you guys in the last few sessions kind of about my goal with my horse, so I'll tell you my goal here today. In the beginning of my session for the first ride, all I got done today was the left. I was just riding with the left rein. I come down to where he was kind of tight when I was sending him out. What I mean by tight, he just had tension in his body, for those of you that kind of didn't see. And I just want to make sure I get that tension out of my horse today, and I want to be able to get him to the right, so I'm going to tie my rein around, which is another good reason why I wanted to use the dressage whip. So once I get my rein tied around here, I'm going to make sure I send him out both directions and make sure this little guy feels really good about it. And then I want to play with some obstacles and stuff too. Again, for those of you that weren't here, the the bridge was a kind of a non-issue for us. We had a little bit of a talk, and then after that, he was pretty good to go about it. So I just want to show him that I'm going to put all the obstacles to him in the same pattern, the same fashion, so that when something new comes along, he doesn't just get scared about the obstacle. He looks to me to see if it's going to be okay. And that's my goal with obstacles. You know, it's not just about how many cool contraptions I can get my horse to go through. It's about the personality he has, or the demeanor he has when he goes through them. Is he looking to me for help? Or is he just saying flat out, no way, no how, I'm even trying that? If I get him looking to me, I feel like there's nothing him and I can't overcome. And that's, ooh, snappy. That's the idea, because some horses, I find trying to make those obstacle Cowboy Up Challenge horses, some horses are made for it and flat out other horses aren't. You know, some horses love to do obstacles, some horses just flat out. My good rope horse, I can flag her. She hates the flag. Just pins her ears, and great on a cow, great on a barrel, does not like obstacles at all. So we keep her on a cow, we keep her on a barrel. Good boy, he feels really good there. He's following a feel. I'll just recap a little bit. I talk about a horse should follow a feel, which is the direction of the pole, and I feel like a horse should handle pressure well. Horse that handles pressure well is when I speed him up, he speeds up, he's not negative about it, and he's not running away from it because he's scared. If I have those two things, I feel like there's nothing me and a young horse can't accomplish together. I'll go ahead and start with the tarp here. Watch the antenna. Now, the flag was a huge day for Jax, so I'd be lying to myself if I didn't think the tarp was going to be something that was pretty important for him to overcome. So when I got him here, this might take up more of my session than I want it to, but it's also something that he needs to overcome. If it's his biggest fear, it's my job to help him through it. Now, when you're doing this with a young horse, one thing I'll caution you guys about, right there, see how his steps are towards me? That is flat out, above all, not allowed. When you have a horse and I'm trying to send him over the tarp and he's not wanting to go away, he's wanting to come towards me, I'm going to reinforce that move away from me every time, because you'll keep asking, and then when he goes to get on the tarp, he's going to jump right in between you and the tarp, or more likely on top of you. So if you start seeing a horse crowding you, he'll probably do it again here. Hopefully I can show you guys what I mean by that. But when I'm putting a horse on an obstacle, I want him to know this is a no-through road. Never, never, never get scared and think you're just going to jump right in my lap. You want to move over there. Or you want to freak out, do it somewhere other than my house. And what I'm doing here is I talked about follow a feel and handle pressure. I'm going to ask for forward motion. And every time I get that forward motion, I'm going to release. And this, the pressure is asking him to move his feet. And the feel is asking him to go forward. No, not towards, fella. So the direction of my halter shank is sending him to the tarp. And my swing of my rope is telling him to go the direction of the pole. Now, for those of you who kind of get stuck in things like trailer loading, this is exactly how I would load a horse in the trailer. Same exact pattern. I would ask him to come forward to the pole of the halter, and I would ask him to move his feet with my taps. Every time he steps ahead, I release. And then I release, and then I release, and then I release till I break him free, and I have the ability to send him either on the tarp or in the trailer or over water or whatever it is. It's always the same pattern. Good boy. Thank you. Now again, I talked in my first session, I'll say it again, I want everybody to try to read my horse or read the horses in the Trainer Challenge. I think it'd make it more fun to watch. I know it's what I do when I come and watch. So in that situation, when you see him go over the tarp, a lot of me was thinking he might blow and go over that tarp. So when I see him get on that tarp and take very methodical steps across that tarp to check it out, it shows me that he's in a really good frame of mind. And in my opinion, that's another feather in this horse's cap, is that he did a really good job and a really honest job about checking out whether or not it was a big deal. He didn't just close his eyes and run through it and say, I can't stand it, right? Good boy. He thinks it through, it works for him, nothing comes out and bites him. The boogeyman wasn't there, so, the next time he's open to try again. Good boy. Smooth as eggs. All right, fella. Perfect. So I think those are going to be good. Now, when I go to step on this horse, I know that we're going to have some issues with getting on, so I'll talk to you guys as we go through that, how I would handle that. And then just making sure that I'm not getting on before he's ready. You know, if I feel like he's still squirreling around and he's not standing still to be saddled, I'm going to work with him until he'll stand still, then I'll get on him. I don't want to force that. Let's do the bridge here first, and then I'll send you around after I got you snugged up here. Easy money. There you go. Take a deep breath. Thank you very much. All right, back to our dressage whip here. Make sure I can send my horse. Go ahead and change direction. Make sure the direction change comes from the pole of the halter. I bring that up because I was really talking about how I want a horse to follow a feel. So if I do my direction change and my goal is follow a feel, but my direction change is me stepping out in front of him, it's not bad to step out in front of him and definitely not wrong by no means, but what it's doing is it's taking my follow a feel plan away and my ability to check him. So I like to do both, but there you see how it was just straight from the pole. He's following the direction of that rein. That gives me confidence when I get on and pull on him. All right, boys, I need my bucket. Come again? Nah.
I thought you were going to take up a collection here. Yeah, Travis is going to pass the hat.
Pass the hat around, yeah. Travis will be walking around taking bets. You think he's going to stick him or not? Come on, I got 2-1. All right. Just kind of test him here. I can tell that when I threw that rope over, he was a little bit watchy. So I'm just going to keep chucking that rope over him here and see if I can find some good spook stuff there that I can work him through. Again, I told you guys when I went to step on this horse, he was watchy and goosey and stuff. So this is just another way to kind of bridge the gap between him and I on whether or not he's okay with me getting on the side of him. And one thing is when a horse is you're on the left side and something happens out of their right eye is a little bit of a scary thing for them. So this is an easy little thing, just kind of work him through. And then you see that rope hanging over his bum there, and that kind of stuff's just going to make him that much happier. Good boy. Hey, bud. I'd been with my wife for about 2-3 months. I'd been trying to help her with a horse. We'd been dating and everything was great. You know how that first few months are. And you know what she told me the coolest thing I ever taught her is how to tie this knot. So if she thought it was the coolest thing I ever taught her, it must be pretty good. But I do 2 around underneath, up over top, and then down. So I told that story at a clinic, and then when I was leaving, they said, knot was the coolest thing I ever taught you. And there was 10 things I thought was cooler than this stupid knot, but if the knot's what you're looking for, there it is. And then the tail hangs down so it's not wrapping back in their face. So around, down, up, over, and down through the top. If that doesn't make sense, come by my booth and I'll show it to you. All right, little guy. Check my stirrup leathers here. You can see right away, see how just immediately he's getting a little watchy. He kind of cocks that eye, cocks that head. There, he's nervous. So this is what I was talking about making sure I don't just crawl in the middle of him, not reading the play here a little bit. So what I'm going to do is before I step all the way over, there you go. I'm going to kind of stand here for a second, see how he feels about it, and I might even ask him to move his feet. Good boy. This colt continues to feel like something might be a problem, and if I give him a bit, it's not a problem. Now, I'm not to say that we're not done here, right? But so far, so good. All right. So when I find resistance in the face there, if you guys see when I pick up on him, people always ask me kind of when do you use your legs. A good time to use the legs on a horse or to have your legs help your pull is that when I find resistance in his face or in his body, I can use my legs to help. So here I talked about legs pushing, so I'm going to use my inside leg here. There you see that resistance. That's a good time to start that left leg, and you see how that left leg just helps that colt get to where I can give him a release, and using that leg keeps me from having to, every time this colt has a problem and I pull and he pulls against me, so I pull harder and he pulls harder, it creates a tug of war, and I've just never been a big enough guy to win that. So just really finding that timing with my legs there to where as soon as I find resistance right there, use legs and then take everything away. Use legs, take everything away. It's sure, it's helped me bridge the gap with my horses with not getting into them pulley horses. And I start that pattern right there on the ground. If I push him around and I go to ask him to be soft in the face and he refuses me, then I'm gonna add taps, same as I would add legs. This is our first pull to the right, so I'm gonna give him a little grace. Now, he hasn't been to the right yet, and I think that's why he's still a little bit watching. Unfortunately, in my last session, I wasn't able to even my horse up, which we talked about in the meet and greet. It's very, very important. But I got forward motion out of my horse there in the last session, which was super important. But I also hadn't got him to see me out of that right eye. I've only got him to see me out of the left eye. So that's going to be kind of my beginning here, is as I start to move him around, I want him really picking up and turning out of that right eye and picking up and seeing all this kind of stuff back here out of that right eye. So we'll go ahead and get started with that. As for a few pops of forward here, have to go to the right, fella. You might have a little more in the can today than he had this morning. Yeah, sure, why not? We meant to do that. Hey, fella. So now he's probably starting to feel a little bit of discomfort from the saddle. So I'm just going to push him for that and remind him to stay with me here. I'm losing him a little bit there, and it's just things that I feel in my seat and in my hands and stuff. So if you guys aren't seeing it, I'll kind of tell you. It's just something I'm feeling about him. So if I start to feel that tension come through him or a little bit of him kind of giving me a negative opinion, I'm going to take a hold of him and control his feet. There you go, Jax. Over the poles. And now, no surprise that he wants to keep changing direction onto that left eye. It's been doing it the whole time, right? And then I finished my last session with making him confident on the left eye. Now he wants to look to the left. I'm not surprised. It just shows me that I got some work to do. If you want to go over the tarp, you can, but let's have that conversation when we get you a little more freed up. If he does buck, can you guys do your best impersonation of Mel, please? Because it helped last time. And again, I talked about if I get the forward I'm looking for, I really don't pick up on that hand. Just let him go and let him get out here and find himself, because there I didn't want that much forward, but he gave me forward, so who am I to be picky? Let him get out there and feel good about it and reach down and love on him. Good boy. Thanks. Good boy. Okay. You always want to, or I shouldn't say you always want to, I always want to kind of get to the lope as quick as I can. And I did it with him here this morning. We got the lope accomplished, and I don't think that's going to be a problem. So I'm going to change up my plan here and start getting to where I feel like right now I have face, but I don't have body. And what I mean by that is that I can bend the face any direction I want it to go. I feel like that's a super soft part of this horse. The problem is the body don't want to go the same direction the face is going. So that's kind of step 2. So what I'm going to do is pick up on this inside rein here and just ride him around, keep him forward till I feel there, that front end step the direction, and then I'll just send him back out. And all I'm doing there is just kind of, thanks for being soft in the face. I just need the body to be a piece of that puzzle too, my little friend. And you can do it into the rail as well. For you English riders, you're going to be looking at me like I got two heads when I tell you to turn a horse into the rail, but sometimes it works. Attaboy. So there he kind of steps to the inside. I can just open up that door. There you go, get them shoulders tracking. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. There you see him kind of wanting to step to the inside, so that's a good excuse for me to just open the door. There, release for that shoulder.
I just noticed how much of a treat you got in your reins there, and how free his head is, like you're not riding with full contact.
I'm doing my best to show him that I trust him, even if I'm not there yet. I'm trying to lie to myself a little bit, maybe. I want him to feel like I'm doing as much for him as he's doing for me. Maybe I'll track him to the inside again and see how my rollbacks there are checking. Then track him to the right here. There, he's a little stiff. Keep that forward. There. Just track them shoulders a little bit and help him find that. Because a lot of times when we ride young horses, you know, that first kind of thought is that we need to be able to get their head around. So we do go with the face a little bit. But don't forget that the face it's just a piece, right? Once you get the body and the face working together, sometimes people have said to me, my horse is too soft. The only time you feel like your horse is too soft is if the body doesn't go where the face goes. If you got a horse that's 100% soft in the face and 100% free in the body, you'll never feel like they're too soft. So that's a good way to even them out. If I feel like I got way too much face, all right, bud, let's go to the body. Good boy. Thank you. I was thinking about you there, Shelley. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start into the backup. You're always walking a bit of a fine line on a colt to where I'm just having so much fun getting out there moving him around. I want to just keep moving him around, but I want to keep giving him to where I keep him and I learning together. And the more I get him understanding kind of what I want out of him for the finals, it's the best I can prepare him. I feel like right now, and you guys might agree with me when you see him ride around, I feel like loping this horse through this arena tomorrow, I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. So making sure that he understands how to be pulled on and how to handle that stuff is maybe more important than the lope. So that's what I'm going to go to now, is I'm going to start with the backup. Usually I do it on the ground. He did it better than most of the horses I ever start when I asked him to back up on the ground, for those of you who weren't here. So what I'm going to do is when I first pull on him, odds are he's going to want to go left and right, or just do it absolutely perfect, whatever. Good boy. I just wanted to make sure that I gave him a fair shake in that backup. It's something that I protect quite a bit, and I never pull on a horse in the backup until I feel that they're ready to handle that, because it's a tough one. Good boy. Good boy. All right, we'll go ahead and try that again and make sure our message is coming in clear. Man, buddy. Thank you. Good boy. Hey.
Now, when you say good boy, does he understand that, or is that more for your benefit?
I think it's, both. I don't know. It's something that it just comes over you, right? You're so happy that it went well. I mean, I could probably say potato, but it's the tone of my voice, right? That he's like, well, that must have made him happy. He sounds different. He's not yelling at me, I guess. I don't know. But he sure, man, I've never had a horse fight me to get on the bridge. I let you rest up there one time. There, fella. I think a horse is, they work a lot on energy as well. You know, that energy in your body, when you say that, good boy, my energy is really low and I kind of come down because he did something good. And I started using that word energy when we were doing clinics in Europe, is that you'd have a translator with you, and when she would translate things like pressure, I think the word was pressure, but there was no word that would match in Swiss German that we could use that. So she would always say energy, and I only know about 6 Swiss words, but it's like energie or something. And I understood what she meant, and I said, you know what, energy is probably better than pressure when you're trying to describe how a horse feels about this type of stuff. So when he feels my energy rise, that means I'm asking you to do something. When he hears my energy, or feels my energy drop, or hears my energy drop, that means, attaboy. All right, fella, you're getting a little sticky.
About 15 minutes left, okay? 15 minutes.
Thank you, sir. You know, I was trying to do it today because I have a bad habit of thinking everything's going good until I wake up Sunday morning and look at the list for the finals. I'm like, I haven't done any of that. So today, if I can get a nice little lope each direction, I'll get off and work on some stuff that I need to have for the finals. Yeah, partner, man, that's 10 times better than earlier. Good man. Good man. If you guys saw this morning, he pretty much did the same thing. His head was looking the other direction and we were at a little bit high rate of speed, but it was all right. And I mean, that one was even better, so good boy. All right. One more way to go, fella. I did it there. Accidentally grabbed a hold of him. Bad deal. Yep. I'll take it. All right. Make sure that shoulder tracks. Good man. Good boy. Good boy. All right. I'm going to go ahead. I feel like this type of stuff, you kind of put the rails out there because sometimes it surprises you don't. And then you get into the finals and a horse like him that's grown up being a horse in the pasture, he looks at that rail like, man, I ain't going over that. That's like a fence. You don't go through fences at my house. So I thought I'd try them. Obviously, he didn't have a problem. The bridge, I'm going to have a heck of a time in the finals just keeping him off of it. So I know the tarp's going to be a hot spot. Let's see how we do here. Now, when I know something's, good boy, good boy, good, thank you. When I know something's hard for a horse, like I talked about it with the flag, but for those of you who weren't here, it's not so much about me getting the tarp as it is about me getting effort to do the tarp. Because if the tarp is the scariest thing in the entire world to him, and he comes out and says, okay, Kate, I'll try it, and maybe I don't get the whole piece of it today. Good boy. But he tries, that's more important. Thank you very much. I'm just gonna try one more thing and then I'll get off him. I'm having too much fun. I'm just gonna try to give him a long, slow draw into that stop and see if he can really follow the idea that stop up and back up, or stop and back up go together like ketchup and mustard. They're two the same. Hold. Long wait. Wait, attaboy. Good man. One more time the other way and we got what we come to get. Now, before I ask him to stop, I want to make sure he's free. He's not trying to shut down. Otherwise, him and I aren't having a clear conversation. Oh. Turn, stop. We'll get it both. There. Good boy. Good boy. House. Pretty cool. It's getting a little stuck there. I want to get off of him, but I got to make sure that, there, him and I are, yeah, buddy, just doing the things that need to happen. And I love that he's wanting to go do stuff, and I love that he's wanting to get out there. I just got to make sure, like even there when I went to pull on him to stop him, his first thought was, he's been turning me, so I'm going to turn, and I bet you let's go. And that's not bad. Kind of anticipation is the definition of willing, but he still has to wait for me a little bit. And that comes back to that follow a feel. Just because you want to turn don't mean I'm not pulling backwards. If I'm pulling backwards, you got to read the play and just follow the direction of that pull.
10 minutes to go.
Sweet. Good man. Put my antenna away here. We still got it in there, eh? But I mean, again, to see how he responded to that, he looked like he was going to have a meltdown. Saw me and he's like, oh, it's just Kate again. I'm all right. Good boy. Okay, can I get that rope from you boys? I ain't going to need this. Here. So I roped this colt in the first session, and I mean, he was pretty cool to rope, sorry. And then after I roped him, I let him around in here, and I mean, as soon as he figured out how to follow the feel of that rope, he was just as sweet as sugar about it. So now I want to show him, with me and him together, that the rope is nothing to be afraid of. And I'm going to do that just by, when I swing it here, I'm going to use it the same way as I use the flag. And I might even lay it over his bum there a little bit and see how he handles that before I start asking him to drag a log or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of test and see what I'm getting myself into. Follow the feel really nice, but easy, bud. Easy, bud. Wow. There you go. Good boy. He don't like it, but he don't need to. Just don't run away. And darn sure don't run on top of me. Good man. And 1 and 2, and 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
He's got signal lights.
Yeah, he does. He's got his hazards on. You're all right, buddy. It ain't that bad. I was kind of waiting until he'd quit just to show him that it's all for nothing, but it might be kind of funny in the finals when I'm loping around and swinging this rope and the mirrors are just waving at everybody. Little guy. Again, another kind of feather in this colt's cap is he darn sure don't like it, but the way he handles it's cool. You know, he's not trying to run off or get away. He tried that a few times, and even when he got scared of the rope, I really had a lot of control on him with that follow a feel. I could keep him right here and direction change. So just more things that I find that it makes me excited for tomorrow, for sure. This is where things can get a little bit kicky. And I'm not going to make a big deal out of nothing. Maybe first time somebody put a rope around me, I'd probably kick at it too. So I'm just going to kind of send them around here, and what I'm trying to accomplish by doing this is sometimes people ask me, did you have a problem leading him? Is that why you roped him around the bum? No, he leads just fine. I want him to feel that rope on either side, so when I drag that log, he don't get a whole lot of surprises. And I tell you what, there's a lot more uncomfortable the way he's doing it here than it is when I go ahead and hook up onto that log. Good boy. Thank you. Let's make some room here. Easy, Junior. Okay, what's going to be the easiest way to do this? Now, I want to give him enough room to accomplish this, like keeping the log far enough away from him. By that I mean room. And then anytime he gets nervous, he turns and faces the log. That's the importance of it. But you can see I'm going in a circle around here to the left. Come on, big fella. What?
5 minutes.
Are you sure?
That's what it was.
Look at that. Day off, little man. Problem is it's on the wrong side, Junior. Nobody drags this calf to the fire on the left side, do they? I guess I haven't seen a lefty roper since I was a kid. That's kind of a thing of the past. Good boy.
Guys who can rope just as well with either hand.
I have a friend that after rope night, we play rope games like pig or something like that. And we made a rule the other night that he's got to do it left-handed because we're sick of losing. He can do them better left-handed than we can right. And then I beat him, but then I wasn't excited about beating him because he did it left-handed. Now usually I won't do this from a ground. Good boy. It's as bad as it gets there. Good man, thank you. Usually I won't do this type of stuff from the ground. By the time I drag the log, I've got a little more time into him, and I feel like, you know, if something bad were to happen or whatever, I wouldn't have any trouble controlling him. And I found out at a trainer challenge one time that if the horse does blow up when I drag the log, if I get a misread, it's something that blows him up so bad that in the amount of time I have, I usually don't have enough control. So I started doing it from the ground here in trainer challenges. But if you feel like you got a lot of control and you can face that rope anytime something goes bad, you don't need to do it from the ground. Or even if you're just a little worried about it, from the ground's not bad either. But I found it gives my horse the best way to talk out of it. Ground tie, there's not very many things this horse can't do, but ground ties, it's not that he can't do it, but he needs a little more work on it. Maybe just because he likes me so much.
I want to come with you.
Yeah, that's great till you got to stand still to do something like be saddled or...
I need you for security.
You're better than that.
You'll leave me in front of the judges.
Yeah. Time?
2 minutes and 10 seconds.
My wife was getting nervous. She said, Kate, ask what time.
2 minutes exactly.
Perfect. Well, that was great. Good boy, Jax. I got everything we come to accomplish here today. I was saying to some people that we were talking to and my friends here that I sometimes feel like, and maybe not all the time, but on a lot of horses, your Saturday afternoon session is probably the most important session to have. Just because it's the first time I feel like I have enough. You're on the Latigo, fella. It's the first time I feel like I have enough tools on a horse to actually start really putting him through the motions and really testing that horse on how he's going to do in the finals. And how your horse performs on Saturday night or even Friday night has a lot to do with how much sleep you get that night too. So I was really excited to see how far we could get today, not with just how many things we could do, but with how he was when I asked him to do something. So good boy, man. You pass all the tests.
1 minute to go.
Uh-oh, I'm pulling a Travis here. I thought I had more time. Time. Still remembering ground tie though, please, fella. Okay, thank you everybody. I hope you guys come back to watch the finals tomorrow. It's going to be a good one. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Kate.
Okay, we just had the best session I think I could have had on that horse. In the first ride, we had some trouble. He was a little waspy. He didn't want to move out. He just kind of had some fear and some tension, and he worked through it so well here today. I got to ride him around 2 reins, and I got him moved out. I got him stopping. He's so pretty when you pull on him. So, yeah, can't wait for the finals. I got one more session to get over some obstacles and iron out some of the kinks, and I can't wait to show this one. He's going to be great.